begin? Because in the end, what John Merrick the Elephant Man looked like and what he was were two very different things. Perhaps it is naive of me to expect the general public to fully comprehend this mystery. After all, who does not secretly relish the shock of the abnormal, the biggest, the ugliest, the most bizarre? But what about a face and physique beyond rational explanation? The unimaginable head, its pungent growths like tusks, the mouth gaping and swollen, one eye nearly obliterated by masses of flesh, a lump recognizable to a very few as a human nose. The arms, one shaped like that of any man's, the other monstrously misshapen, twisted, blown out of all proportion. The hand on the deformed arm, a mere flipper, a piece of flesh, fingers and thumb welded together by a cruel whim of nature, intertwined, withered, helpless. And what about the body as a whole? The affliction of the joints, which reduced it to the spraddling stature of a hunchback. I met him twice. I knew of him for 2 years. I knew him for another 4. The second meeting changed both our lives. Physicians, they say, are supposed to be impartial, but the Elephant Man represented the most significant episode in my professional life. I came to see him differently from others somehow. They saw only the surface and shrank from looking deeper.
Blimey! What is it? Look here. Who'd have believed it? What is it? Don't look human even.
That's him. That's the bloke they kept up here 3 or 4 years. Oh, a fright, ain't he?
That'll do. Get on with your work.
Yes, sir.
How many times have I looked at these? When was the first time? Yes, that's it. The very same year. Not long after I arrived here.
I'm Mr. Carl Garmer, administrator here at the London Hospital.
Frederick Treves, your new lecturer in anatomy.
Age 31, books on scrofula and applied surgical anatomy. I'm happy to see you rising, Mr. Treves. Ignore the squalor of Whitechapel, the general dinginess, neglect, and poverty without, and you will find a continual medical richesse in the London Hospital. We study and treat the widest range of diseases and disorders, and are certainly the greatest institution of our kind in the world. Well, the Empire offers unparalleled opportunities for our studies, as places cruel to life are the most revealing scientifically. Add to our reputation by going further, and that will satisfy. You've bought a house?
On Wimpole Street.
Good. Keep at it, Treves. You'll have 100 guinea fees before you're 40. An excellent consolation prize.
Consolation? I don't know what you mean.
I know you don't. You will.
A happy childhood in Dorset. A scientist in an age of science. In an English age, an Englishman. A teacher and doctor at the London. 2 books published by my 31st year. And by God, 100 guinea fees before I'm 40. Consolation for what?
My work at the hospital was rewarding. In my few spare hours, though, I slipped outside and disregarded the administrator's advice. I found the poverty, the dirt, the disease oddly invigorating. A kind of vast revolving show which never seemed to end.
See Mother Nature uncorseted and in malignant rage. Tut.
This sign is absurd. Half elephant, half man is not possible. I'm from the London Hospital across the road. I should be curious to see him if there is some genuine disorder. He's merely a mass of papier-mâché and
Then
paint.
pay me nothing. Enter, sir. Merrick, stand up. Bloody donkey, up, up!
I must examine him further at the hospital. This is my card. I'm Treves. I shall send a taxi round to pick him up and to return him. This card will gain him entry.
5 bob and he's yours for the day.
Well, I wish to examine him in the interest of science, you'll see.
Sir, I'm Ross. I look out for him. I get him his living. I found him in a Leicester workhouse. His ma put him there at the age of 3. Couldn't bear the sight. Well, you can understand. He's good value, though. You won't find another like him.
Fair enough. When I examined him, the most striking feature about him was his enormous head. Its circumference was about that of a man's waist. From the brow, there projected a huge bony mass, like a loaf, while from the back of the skull hung a bag of spongy, fungus-looking skin, the surface of which was comparable to brown cauliflower. From the top of his skull hung a few long, lank hairs. The osseous growth on the forehead, at this stage about the size of a tangerine, almost occluded one eye. From the upper jaw, there projected another mass of bone. It protruded through his mouth like a pink stump, turning the upper lip inside out and making the mouth a wide, slobbering aperture. The nose was merely a lump of flesh, recognizable only as a nose from its position. These deformities rendered the face utterly incapable of the expression of any emotion whatsoever. He could weep, but he could not smile. The back was horrible, because from it hung as far down as the middle of the thigh, huge sack-like masses of flesh covered with the same loathsome cauliflower stain. The right arm was of enormous size and shapeless. It suggested, but was not, elephantiasis, and was overgrown also with pendant masses of flesh covered with the same cauliflower-like skin. The right hand was large and clumsy, a fin or paddle, really, rather than a hand. No distinction existed between the palm and the back. The thumb was like a radish, and the fingers like thick tuberous roots. As a limb, it was useless. The other arm was remarkable by contrast. It was not only normal, but was, moreover, a delicately shaped limb, covered with a fine skin, and provided with a beautiful hand, which any woman might have envied. From the chest hung a bag of the same repulsive flesh. It was like a dewlap suspended from the neck of a lizard. The lower limbs had the characters of the deformed arm. They were unwieldy, dropsical-looking, and grossly misshapen. There arose from the fungus skin growth a very sickening stench, which was hard to tolerate. To add a further burden to his trouble, the wretched man, when a boy, developed hip disease, which left him permanently lame, so that he could walk only with the aid of a stick. Please. He was thus denied all means of escape from his tormentors.
Mr. Treves, you have shown us a profound and unknown disorder. You have said that when he leaves here, it will be to return to his exhibition. I do not think it ought to be permitted. It is an indecency. Something ought to be done.
Well, I am a doctor, sir. What would you have me do?
Well, I know what to do. I know.
The police found Medic's exhibition degrading and closed the show. Ross, the showman, fled with the Elephant Man to the continent. But the crowds were pitifully few, and the police of Zurich and Strasbourg were no more receptive to Ross's show than those in England had been. He came finally to Brussels. His reception was discouraging.
We are the Queen of the Congo!
No, don't recite yet, you morons. I'll say when. And when you do get it right.
You don't, it's back to the asylum. You know what that means, don't you, huh? Yeah, got your little heads, huh? Spoon out your little brains. Yeah, replace them in the dachshund they were nicked from, yeah? Yeah?
Cut you! Yeah?
All right, be back with customers.
Come, see the queens of the Congo! Come, see the queens of the Congo!
Cosmos. Congo, Congo, lands of darkness. Oh, look at them, lad. It's freer on the continent. Loads of indecency here. No one minds. Now, you have a little tete-a-tete with this lot, and I'll go and see the coppers about our permit to exhibit.
Ross!
Be right back!
I come from England. At home, they chased me out of London. Police. Someone complained. They beat me. You have no trouble, no?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello. In Belgium, we make money. I look forward to it. Oh, happiness, I mean. You pay your police. How is it done?
Hello. Hello.
Oh, we'll do a show together sometime, yes? I have saved 48 pounds, 2 shillings, 9 pence. English money. Roz takes care of it for me.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Little vocabulary problem, eh? Or things. Looks like someone put your noses to the grindstone and forgot to take them away.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Quick! They're coming! They're coming!
Oh.
Ready?
Now!
We are the queens of the Congo, the beautiful Belgian Empire. Our natives are bigger, our miners are finer. Empire, Congo and power. Do smile is down.
Admire.
Admire. Fire! Admire!
Fire!
Fire! Fire! I tell you on fire!
You cretins! Get those words right,
Don't cry. You sang nice. There, don't cry.
What more do you want?
This is a brutal, indecent, and immoral display of public indecency and forbidden.
Well, what about them and their perfect coneheads?
They're ours.
Competition's good for business. Where's your spirit of competition?
Right here!
Do that, you'll kill him.
Better off dead, the indecent bastard.
Indecent!
Harry.
Indecent!
Harry.
Indecent!
Don't cry. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt.
I've decided, lad. I'm sending you back. You're a flop. No, you're a liability. Not the moneymaker I figured. So that's it.
Alone?
Now, here's your kit and a few bob so you can have a nosh. I'm keeping the rest for my trouble. I deserve it, I reckon. Pick up your stink if I'll stick around.
Please?
Stink of failure. Stink of lost years. Just stink. 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 Stink.
This the one?
Just see him to Liverpool Street Station safe, will you? Here's something for your trouble.
What's he say?
Fella's an imbecile. Just makes sounds. Bon voyage, Johnny. Name's Johnny. Knows his name. That's all, though.
Liverpool Street Station.
We're safe in here. I've barred the door.
They wanted to rip him apart. I've never seen anything like it.
Got somewhere to go in London, lad? He can't stay here.
Oh, where can he go?
Dunno. Not with that mob out there. Got any money? And what's that?
Oh, he's an imbecile. He can't understand. Search him. He just makes sounds. Frightened sounds is all. Go through his coat.
Hey. You Johnny Merrick? Oh, got a card here. What's this old card here, Johnny?
What's it say?
Mr. Frederick Treves, lecturer in anatomy at the London Hospital.
Let me go for it. It's not far.
What does he do, eh? Eh? Lecture you on your anatomy? Now, people who think right don't look like that then, do they? Oh, yes. Glung. Oh, yes. Treves.
I'm Frederick Treves. This is my card.
But this poor wretch here had it.
He just arrived, sir, from Belgium.
Merrick. John Merrick. Good Lord. What have they done to you?
Help me!
In the attic of the London hospital was an isolation ward with several beds. It was used for emergency purposes, for patients suddenly gone insane, or a man with a mysterious fever. Here, the Elephant Man was made comfortable and supplied with food. The condition of his skin rendered a bath at least once a day a necessity, and the unpleasant odor ceased to be noticeable. But his appearance remained hideous, and none of the regular nurses would attend him. I was obliged to advertise for an experienced outsider.
You are Miss Sandwich.
Sandwich, yes.
Well, I see you've had experience in missionary hospitals in the Niger.
And Ceylon.
Well, I may assume you've seen...
The tropics. Oh, those diseases, the many and awful scourges our Lord sends. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm looking for the help of an experienced nurse, you see.
Someone to bring his meals, to take care of his room? I understand, but is it somehow difficult?
Well, I have been let down so far. He really is, well, the regular sisters, it is not part of their job, and they simply will not do it. Be ordinarily kind to Mr. Merrick without, well, panicking. He is quite beyond ugly. You understand that? His appearance has terrified them.
The photographs show a terrible disease.
It is a disorder, not a disease. It is in no way contagious, though in fact I don't know what it is. I have encountered a rather strange superstition in those that I have tried. They seem to believe that he somehow brought it upon himself, this thing. Of course, it is not like that at all.
I am not one who believes it is ourselves who attain grace or bring chastisement to us, sir.
Miss Sandwich, I am hoping not.
Let me put your mind to rest. Care for lepers in the East, and you have cared, Mr. Treves. In Africa, I've seen dreadful scourges, quite unknown to our more civilized climes. What at home could be worse than a miserable and afflicted, rotting black?
I imagine.
Appearances do not daunt me.
Well, that is exactly what has sent me outside the confines of the London seeking help.
I look unto the hills, whence cometh my help. I understand. I think I will be satisfactory.
Good.
Is lunch?
Well, perhaps you'd care to accompany me. I shall introduce you.
Allow me to carry the tray.
No, I will this time. You are ready.
I am.
Come. He is bathing to be rid of his odor. John! John, this is Miss Sandwich. She's going to be taking care of you for a little while.
Oh, my good God in heaven! Ow! Ow!
I am sorry. I thought...
Thank you for saving my lunch this time.
Excuse me. You really have let me down, you know. I did everything I could to warn you, and still you've let me down.
You didn't say.
But I did say.
Didn't. You said just words.
But the photograph.
Just a picture. No one will do this. I am sorry.
The Elephant Man adapted quickly to the hospital routine. A letter to the Times from Mr. Gom brought in a torrent of funds for medic support. The next step, to assure him a normal life. Normal like us, inquired Mr. Gom. I asked if there was something wrong with that.
How long is as long as I like?
You may stay for life. The funds exist.
Been reading this about homes for the blind. Wouldn't mind going to one when I have to move.
But you don't have to move, and you're not blind.
I would prefer it when no one stared at me.
But no one will bother you here.
What did I tell you?
God almighty! Mr. Treves, Mr. Gom.
I don't understand. You were told not to do this. You must not lurk around. Surely you have work.
Yes, sir.
Really is infuriating, you know. When you're told a thing, I expect you to listen. I will not have you gaping in at my patients. Kindly remember that.
But he isn't a patient, is he, sir?
Don't let me find you here again.
Didn't know you was here, sir. We'll be off now.
No. No, Will. Mr. Treves was precisely saying no one would intrude when you intruded.
Well, he is warned now. Medic does not like it.
He was warned before. On what penalty, Will?
That you'd sack me, sir.
You're sacked.
Will. And what is your name?
Snort, sir. Just started.
Well, I hope the point is taken now.
Mr. Gom, I ain't truly sacked, am I?
Will, yes, truly sacked. You will never be more truly sacked.
Well, it ain't me. My wife ain't well. My sister has to look after our kids and of her. Well?
Think of them first next time.
It ain't as if I interfered with his medicine.
That is exactly what it is. You may go.
Just keeping him to look at in private, that's all, innit?
There are priorities, Frederick. The first is discipline. Smooth is the passage to the tight ship's master. Merrick, you're safe from prying now.
Have we nothing to say, John?
If all that's dead had me'd been sacked, there'd be whole towns out of work.
I meant thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir.
We always do say please and thank you, don't we?
Oh, yes, sir.
If we want to properly be like others.
I want to, sir.
Then it is for our own good, is it not?
Thank you, sir, Mr. Gum.
Sir, you are welcome.
You are happy here, are you not, John?
Yes, sir.
The baths have rid you of your odor, have they not?
First chance I had to bathe regularly.
And 3 meals a day delivered to your room?
Yes, sir.
Well, this is your promised land, is it not? A roof, food, care, protection, is it not?
All right, Mr. Treves.
I'll bet you don't know what to call this.
No, sir, I don't.
You call it home.
Never had a home before.
Well, you have one now. Say it, John. Home.
Home.
No. Really say it. I have a home. This is my... Go on.
I have a home. This is my home. This is my home. I have a home. I have for as long as I like.
Well, that is what home is.
Oh, that is what is home.
If I abide by the rules, I will be happy.
Yes, sir.
Don't be shy, John. Say it.
If I abide by the rules, I will be happy.
Very good. Why?
Why what?
Why will you be happy?
Oh, because this is my home.
Why do rules make you happy?
I don't know.
Of course you do.
No, I don't.
Well, why does anything make you happy?
Like what? Like what? Like what?
Don't be upset. Rules make us happy because they are for our own good.
All right.
Don't be shy, John. Say it.
This is my home.
No. About rules making us happy.
They make us happy because they are for our own good.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I must submit a follow-up report on you to the Pathological Society. It would be of great help to me if you could tell me more of what you recall of your early years to fill in gaps.
To fill in gaps? The workhouse where they put me. They beat you there like a drum. Boom, boom. Scrape the floor. Shine the pan. Boom, boom. It never ends. The floor is always dirty. The pan is always tarnished. There's nothing you can do about it. You'll always... Will the children go to the workhouse?
What children?
The children of the man he sacked.
Well, of necessity, Will find other employment. You don't want people staring at you, do you?
No.
In your home, you needn't have crowds staring at you. Or anyone, for that matter, do you? In your home.
No.
Well, then, Mr. Gorm was merciful, was he not? You yourself are proof, is it not so? Well, is it not so?
If your mercy is so cruel, what do you have for justice?
I am sorry. That is just the way things are. John Merrick.
To secure Merrick's recovery and bring him, as it were, to life once more, it was necessary that he should make the acquaintance of other people. Women I felt to be more important than men in bringing about his transformation.
You have seen the photographs of John Merrick, Mrs. Kendall. You are acquainted with his appearance.
He reminds me of an audience I played Cleopatra for in Brighton once. All huge, grim head and grimace, and utterly unable to clap.
Well, my aim is to lead him to as normal a life as possible. His terror of us all comes from having been held at arm's length from society. I am determined that that shall end. For example, he loves to meet people and to converse. I am determined that he shall. Most critical, I feel, are women. I shall explain. They have always had the most intense fear and loathing of him. And while he adores them, of course.
Ah, then he is intelligent.
Well, I'm convinced that they are the key to retrieving him from his exclusion. Though I must warn you, Mrs. Kendall, that to John Merrick, women are not quite real. They are more like creatures of his imagination.
Then he is already like other men, Mr. Treves.
So, I thought an actress could help. I mean, unlike most women, you won't give in. You're trained to hide your true feelings and to assume others.
You mean, unlike most women, I am famous for it. That is really all.
Well, in any case, if you could just enter his room and smile and say good morning, and then when you leave, if you could shake his hand. The left one is quite usable. It's actually quite beautiful. And say, I am very pleased to have made your acquaintance, Mr. Merrick.
Shall we try it?
Pardon?
Left hand out, please. I am very pleased to have made your acquaintance, Mr. Merrick. I am very pleased to have made your acquaintance, Mr. Merrick. I am very pleased to have made your acquaintance, Mr. Merrick. I am very pleased to have made your acquaintance, Mr. Merrick. Yes, yes, that one.
By God, they were all splendid. Oh, Merrick will be so pleased. It will be the day he becomes a man, like other men.
Speaking of that, Mr. Treves.
Frederick, please.
Freddie, may I commit an indiscretion?
Yes.
I could not help but notice from the photographs that of the unafflicted parts, how shall I put this?
Oh, yes. Yes, I see. I quite understand. No, it is quite normal.
Yes, I thought as much.
Medically speaking, the papillomatous extrusions which disfigure him seem to correspond quite regularly to the osseous deformities. Oh, what I mean to say is that there appears to be a link between the fungus skin growths and the bone disorder, though for the life of me I have no idea why that is or what it is, but in any case the part which you indicated would be unlikely to be afflicted because there's no bone in it. No bone at all.
Well, we learn a little every day, don't we?
I am horribly embarrassed.
Are you? Then he must be lonely indeed.
He is making sketches for a model of St. Philip's Church. He wishes someday to construct the model, you see. John, this is Mrs. Kendall. She would very much like to make your acquaintance.
Good morning, Mr. Merrick.
Well, I must attend to a few matters, if you will excuse me.
I planned to say so many things. I forgot them. You are so beautiful.
How charming, Mr. Merrick.
Well, really...
Slowly. Slowly.
That's what I planned to say. But I forgot what I planned to say. I couldn't think of anything else. I was so excited.
The real charm is always planned, don't you think?
Well, I don't know why I look like this. My mother was beautiful. She was knocked down by an elephant in the circus when she was pregnant. Something must have happened, don't you think?
It may well have.
It may well have. But sometimes I think my head is so big because it is so full of dreams. Because it is. Do you know what happens when dreams cannot get out?
No.
I don't either. Something must. Well, you are a famous actress.
I am not unknown.
You must display yourself for a living, then, like I did.
Well, that is not myself, Mr. Merrick. That is an illusion. This is myself.
This is myself, too.
Frederick says you like to read. So, books.
Oh, I am reading Romeo and Juliet now.
Ah, Juliet. What a love story. I adore love stories.
I like love stories best, too. If I had been Romeo, guess what?
What?
I would not have held a mirror to her breath.
What? You mean the scene in which Juliet appears to be dead? And he holds a mirror to her breath, and he sees...
Nothing. Well, how does he feel when he kills himself because he sees nothing?
Well, my experience with Juliet has always been, particularly with an actor I will not name, that whilst I'm lying there dead, and he is lamenting excessively, I start to think, if this slab of ham does not part from the ham hock of his life toot sweet, I shall scream, pop off the tomb, and plunge a dagger into his scene-stealing heart. Romeos are very undependable.
Because Romeo does not care for Juliet.
Not care?
Oh. Does he take her pulse? Does he get a doctor? Does he make sure? No, he kills himself. The illusion fools him because he does not care about her. He only cares about himself. If I had been Romeo, we would have got away.
But then there would have been no play, Mr. Merrick.
If he does not love her, why should there be a play? Looking in a mirror and seeing nothing. That is not love. That is an illusion. When the illusion ended, he had to kill himself.
That is extraordinary.
Before I spoke with people, I did not think these things, because there was no one to bother to think them for. Now, things just come out of my mouth which are true.
John, look. You are famous, John. We are in the papers. They've published my report to the Pathological Society. Well, look, it's rather an apotheosis for you.
Frederick? I feel Mr. Merrick would benefit by even more company than you provide. In fact, by acquainting him with the best, and they with him. I shall make this my task, if you will permit me. As you know, I am a friend of nearly everyone, and I do pretty well as I please, and what pleases me is this task, I think.
By God, Mrs. Kendall, you are splendid.
I must go now, Mr. Merrick. I shall return again, if you will permit me. And next time, I should like to bring my good friend Dorothy, Lady Neville. She would be most pleased to meet you. Let me tell her yes. Then, until next time, I am sure your church model will surprise us all. Mr. Merrick, it has been a very great pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Your hand, John. She wishes to shake your hand.
Thank you for coming.
But it was my pleasure. Thank you.
The transformation of John Merrick was an amazing change to witness. Suddenly, everybody wanted to see him. He must have been visited by everyone of rank in the social world. They came flocking from all corners of the realm. An extraordinary step forward, I thought. Frankly, I wasn't sure. I had my doubts. Where was all this going to lead? In any case, there was no turning back.
No, no, Lord John. The Lady from the Sea. Now, there's a play for you.
Say as you like, Mrs. Kendall. Ibsen, after all. Drury Lane for me.
Ah, yes, the pantomime. Mr. Merrick and I are going next week. Dick Whittington is playing.
Merrick going to the theatre? What do you say to that, Mr. Gum?
Don't ask me, my lord. What says the church about the theatre?
Christmas time, sirs, Christmas time.
Merrick's model. You've not seen it, my lord.
No, I've heard of it, Freddie.
Over here.
Excuse me.
Mr. Merrick, I hope the decanter and the goblet are to your liking.
Many thanks, Countess.
I'm so pleased to have met you. The happiest of holidays.
Is this the right moment, Mr. Treves?
Oh, of course, Dr. Howe, after you.
Your very own edition of the Psalms, Mr. Merrick, bound in ivory.
Thank you, Dr. Howe.
Silver-top walking stick, Merrick. Keep up the good work. Example to us all.
Thank you, Mr. Gum.
Happy Christmas, John, and many more. These are for you. Ivory-handled razors and a toothbrush.
Thank you, Mrs. Kendall.
And a silver cigarette case, John, full of cigarettes.
Thank you, Frederick.
Her Royal Highness Princess Alexandra. So good of you, Your Royal Highness.
The happiest of Christmases, Mr. Merrick.
Her Royal Highness has brought you a signed photograph of herself, John.
I am honored, Your Royal Highness. It is a treasure of my possessions. I have written His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, to thank him for the pheasants and woodcock he sent me.
He was delighted to hear from you. And how is the model of your church progressing?
You have no idea, my lord, how forthright a Christian Mr. Merrick is. The model confirms it. He's religious and devout, and he knows that salvation must radiate to us, or all is lost.
Indeed, Dr. Howe. For example, he knows I use him to raise money for the hospital, as you do for the church when you speak of him from the pulpit. He's wary of any promise, yet he fits in well, like me.
Why all of these toilet articles, tell me? He's much too deformed to use any of them.
Props, of course, to make himself, as I make me.
You? You think of yourself?
He is charming, almost feminine. He is gentle, honest within limits. He is a true artist. He is almost like me.
How odd. I think of him curious, compassionate, and concerned about the world. Rather like myself. Freddie Treves, A.D. 1889.
The model of St. Philip's Church is progressing beautifully, Mr. Treves.
Yes, it is remarkable, I know.
And I do it with just one hand, they all say.
You are an artist, John Merrick. An artist.
I did not begin to build at first. Not until I saw what St. Philip's really was. It is not stone and steel and glass. It is an imitation of grace, flying up from the mud. So I make my imitation of an imitation. But even in that is heaven to me, Mrs. Kendall.
Well, that thought has a good line to it, John. Plato believed this was all a world of illusion, and that artists made illusions of heaven.
You mean we are all just copies of originals?
Yes, that's it.
Oh, who made the copies?
God, the demiurge.
He should have used both hands, shouldn't he?
Mr. Merrick, you are a credit to Mr. Treves. And Mr. Treves, you are a credit to medicine, to England, and to Christendom. I am so very pleased to have made your acquaintance. You know, Lord John, when His Royal Highness asked Mr. Treves to be his personal surgeon, he said, "Dear Freddie, if you can put up with that elephant bloke, you can surely put up with me."
Well, remember this.
I'll come actually to ask forgiveness.
I have found a good home, Ross. I forgave you.
I was hoping we could make a deal, something new maybe.
No.
I was counting on it, see? You being warm-hearted, the same as me. Figure what I read about you in the newspapers, you don't change. Dukes and ladies coming to see you. Makes them feel good about themselves by comparison. There but for the grace of God, eh? So I figure you're selling the same service as always, only to a better clientele. Only difference now is you ain't charging for it.
You make me sound like a whore.
Well, you are. I am. They are. Most are. No disgrace, John. Only disgrace is being a stupid whore. Give it for free. Not to have a manager is stupid.
You see this church? I am building it. The people who visit me are friends, not clients. I am not a dog walking on his hind legs.
I was thinking, charge these people. The pleasure of the Elephant Man's company. Do it in the right spirit, they pay happily. I'd take 10%. I'd do all right with 10%.
Bad luck's made you daft.
I helped you, John. I discovered you. Was that daft? No. What was daft? Rousseau's Treves Harvest? It isn't bad, is it, John, when you think about it? And I do. Because I'm old. Got something in my throat, maybe you've noticed. Something in my lungs. Something in my belly, I guess, too. But I'd do all right with 10%. I don't ask much.
They are my friends. I'd lose everything for you. You robbed me. 48 pounds, 9 shillings, tuppence. You kept me like an animal in darkness. You left me to die. You come back and want to rob me again. Will you not be satisfied? Now, I am a man like others. You want me to return?
Had a woman yet?
Is that what makes a man?
In my day, it'd do for a start.
Not what makes this one. Yet I am like others.
Then I am condemned. Might as well go to a doss house straight, with no future. 5%, John.
I'm sorry, Ross. That is just the way things are.
By God, then I am lost.
Christmas had come and gone. Winter set in, and with it, harsh weather. Because of his declining physical condition, Merrick was obliged to spend most of his days inside. Mrs. Kendall's visits became a staple of his existence.
The prince has a mistress. That Irishman had one. Everyone seems to. Or a wife. Some have both. I have concluded I need a mistress. It's bad enough not to sleep like others.
Sitting up, you mean? Yes, it can't be very restful.
Not too heavy to lay down my head, but to sleep alone. That is worst of all.
The true artist expresses his love through his works. That is civilization.
Are you very shocked?
Why should I be?
Others would be.
I am not others.
I suppose it is hopeless.
Nothing is hopeless. However, it is unlikely.
I thought you might have a few ideas.
I can tell who has a few ideas here.
You don't know something, Mrs. Kendall. I've never even seen a naked woman.
Oh, surely. In all the fairs you've worked...
Oh, no, I mean a real woman.
Is one more real than another?
I mean, in the theater, the opera.
Oh, surely you cannot mean they are more real.
Oh, in the audience. A woman not worn out early, not deformed by awful life. A lady, respectful, kept up. You don't know what fair grounds are like, Mrs. Kendall.
Do you mean someone like Princess Alexandra?
She does not look happy, no.
Dorothy Neville?
Not so old.
Lady Ellen?
Too thin.
Then who?
Certain women. They have a kind of ripeness. They seem to stop at the perfect point.
My dear, she doesn't exist.
Probably why I never saw her.
What would your friend Bishop Howe say to all of this, I wonder?
He says I should put these thoughts out of my mind.
Oh, is that the best he can suggest?
I put them out of my mind. Snap. They reappear.
And what about Frederick?
Oh, no. He would be appalled if I told him.
I'm flattered. Too little trust has maimed my life. But that is another story.
What a rain. Are we going to read this afternoon?
Yes. Some women are lucky to look well, that is all. It is a rather arbitrary gift. It has no rarely good use, though it does have its uses, I will say that. However, it does not signify very much.
Me, it does.
Well, you are mistaken.
What are we going to read?
Trust is very important, you know. I trust you.
Thank you very much. I have a book of Thomas Hardy's here. He is a friend of Frederick's. Shall we read this?
Turn around a moment. Don't look.
Is this a game?
I would hardly call it a game. A surprise.
Surprise? Oh, what kind of a surprise?
I saw photographs of you before I met you. You didn't know that, did you?
The ones from the first time in '84?
Yes.
No. No, I didn't.
I thought they were unjust. I don't know why. I can't say my sense of justice is my most highly developed characteristic. You may turn around now. Well, a little funny, isn't it?
It is the most beautiful sight I have seen ever.
If you tell anyone about this, we shall never see each other again. We shall not read. We shall not speak. We shall do nothing. But wait. No illusions now.
What is going on here? What is going on?
For a moment, Freddie. Paradise.
Have you no sense of decency? And you? Are you not ashamed? Do you know what you are? Don't you know what is forbidden?
What is there to say? I am extremely pleased to have made your acquaintance.
Frederick, do you believe in heaven? Hell? What about Christ? What about God? I believe in heaven. The Bible promises, in heaven the crooked shall be made straight.
So does the rack, my boy. So do we all.
You don't believe?
Well, right now, I will settle for a reliable general anesthetic. I had a patient once, though, a woman, operated on her for a woman's thing, and used ether to anesthetize. Tricky stuff. She didn't come out of it. Pulse stopped, no vital signs, absolutely moribund. Just a big, white, dead mackerel. 5 minutes later, she fretted back into existence like a lost explorer with a great scoop of the undiscovered.
She saw heaven.
Well, I'll quote her. It was neither heavenly nor hellish, rather like perambulating through a London fog. People drifted by, but no one spoke. London, mind you. Hell's probably the provinces.
If you don't believe, why did you send Mrs. Kendall away?
You know why?
If you don't believe.
Don't forget, it saved you once. My interference. You know very well it was not proper.
How can I tell if you don't believe?
Because there are still standards that we abide by.
They make us happy because they are for our own good?
Well, not always.
Oh?
Look, if you're angry, I wish you would just say so.
Whose standards are they?
I'm really not in the mood for this chipping away at the edges, John.
They do not always make us happy because they are not always for our own good.
Well, everyone's mine, everyone's.
That woman's at Juliet's.
What? Juliet?
Who died, then came back.
Yes, yes, her standards too.
So?
So what?
Did you see her naked?
When I was operating, yes, of course.
Oh?
Look, I am trying to read about anesthetics. Oh, what?
Oh, is it all right to see them naked if you cut them up afterwards?
Good Lord. I am a surgeon. That is science.
She died. Mrs. Kendall didn't die.
But the woman came back.
And Mrs. Kendall didn't, if you mean that.
There is simply no comparison.
Oh?
That woman came to me to... Well, what I mean to say is... Well, it's just science, and that's all it is. It's not love, you know.
Is that why you worry about anesthetics?
It would just be a boon to surgery.
Because you don't love them.
Love has got nothing to do with surgery.
Do you lose many patients, Frederick?
I? Some. Well, can't you understand? What difference does it make if I or any surgeon loves her or any patient or not? And what conceivable difference to you?
Because it is your standards we must abide by.
Look, if you are angry, I wish you would just say so. I'm not going to turn you out, you know. Go on and say it. Go on. I am angry. Say it. Say it, will you? I am angry. Say it. Say it.
I believe in heaven.
Yes. Yes, I know. It's not all right to see them naked if you cut them up afterwards, eh? Good Lord, you make me sound like Jack the Ripper.
Oh, Frederick, you worry about anesthetics. You are merciful.
Are you being funny?
I myself am proof. Is it not so? Is it not so?
John, about Mrs. Kendall, perhaps I was wrong. I don't know what's been getting into me lately. Taking too much on, I think.
Will she come back, Mrs. Kendall?
Well, I will speak to her again.
But will she?
No. No, I don't think so.
Oh.
There are other things involved, John. Just other things.
Other things, huh? Excuse me. Must go to the loo now. Why won't she? Why?
Because I don't want her here. When you die.
The most striking feature about him, note, the terrifyingly normal head. This allowed him to lie down normally and to dream in the exclusive personal manner, without the weight of others' dreams accumulating to break his neck. The mouth, deformed by satisfaction at being at the hub of the best of existent worlds, was rendered therefore utterly incapable of self-critical speech, thus of the ability to change. The heart showed signs of worry at this unchanging yet untenable state. The
surgeon's hands were well developed and strong, capable of the most delicate carvings up. The right was of enormous size and power, but so incapable of the distinction between the assertion of authority and the charitable act of giving, that it was often to be found disgustingly beating others for their own good. The left was slighter and fairer, and may be seen in typical position, hand covering the genitals, which were treated as a sullen colony in constant need of restriction, governance, and punishment. To add a further burden to his trouble, the wretched man, while a boy, developed a disabling spiritual duality, was thus unable to feel what others feel, nor reach harmony with them. Please. He would thus be denied all means of escape from those he had tormented. We hope in 20 years we will understand enough to put an end to this affliction. Had we caught it earlier, things might have been different. The truth is, I'm afraid, we are dealing with an epidemic. An epidemic. An epidemic. An epidemic. An epidemic. An epidemic.
Still beavering away for Christ?
Yes.
I got your report. He doesn't know, does he?
The bishop?
No. I meant Merrick.
No.
I shall be sorry when he dies.
Well, it will not be unexpected, anyway.
He's brought the hospital quite a lot of good repute, you know. Quite a lot of contributions, too, for that matter. No, I've never regretted letting him stay on. Though I didn't imagine he would last this long.
Well, his heart will not sustain him much longer. In fact, it might even give out when he gets off his bloody knees with that bloody man.
Now, what is it, Freddie? What has gone sour for you?
Nothing has gone sour for me. I don't know. It's just that as he achieves greater and greater normalcy, his condition edges him ever closer to the grave. The parable of growing up to become more normal is to die, more accepted to worsen. It is a mockery of everything we live by.
Sorry, Freddie, don't quite follow you.
Nothing has gone sour for me.
Well, then cheer up, man. You're knighted, your clients will be kings. Nothing succeeds, my boy, like success.
I find my sessions with him utterly moving, Mr. Treves. He struggles so. I suggested he might like to be confirmed, and he leapt at it, like a man lost in a desert to an oasis.
Yes, he is very excited to do what others do if he thinks it is what others do.
Do you cast doubt on his faith, sir?
Oh, no, sir, I do not. Yet he does make us all think that he is deeply like ourselves. Yet we are not like each other at all. I conclude, therefore, that we have polished him like a mirror and shout hallelujah when he reflects us to the inch. I have grown sorry for it.
Something is troubling you, Mr. Treves?
Corsets. How about corsets? I have here a pamphlet that I've written, due mainly to the grotesque ailments I have seen caused by corsets. Fashion overrules me, of course. My patients do not unstrap themselves of corsets. You know, I have so little time in the week, I spend Sundays in the poor wards to keep up with the work. Work being 20-year-old women who look an abused 50 with worn-outedness. Young men with appalling industrial conditions who I turn out as soon as possible to return to their labors. Oh, happily, most of my patients are not poor. What then, sir, could be troubling me? I am an extremely successful Englishman in a successful and respected England, which informs me daily by the way it lives that it wishes to die. I am in despair, in fact.
Sir, there is in Christ's church consolation.
Yes, well, I'm sure we were not born for mere consolation.
But look to Mr. Merrick's happy example.
Oh, yes, I do. You know, I'm an awfully good gardener. Did you know that? I mean, with Merrick, with John. Good Lord. I'm taking such good care of anyone. You're convinced. Are you not convinced? Him, I mean. He's not very dangerously human. And I, well, what I have given him, taught. Of course, I mean taken when I say given, but you knew that. And I'm...
Mr. Treves, I cannot make out what you're saying.
Help me. Please.
It is done.
Mr. Merrick! I'll set you right over there. Perhaps you'd like to take a walk after lunch. April's doing wonders for the gardens. Oh, me might well. His sister died yesterday. 28 she was. Imagine that. Now, the wife was sick, and the sister nursed her. Now, the wife's all right. And the sister just ups and dies. Well, it's all so... What's the word? I forgot it. It means Chauncey. Well, I forgot it. Chauncey'll do. Now, you have a good lunch.
Chauncey. Chauncey.
Darkness, darkness, light's true flower. Here is eternity's finest hour. Sleep like others you learn to admire. Be like your mother. Be like your sire.
Remember it now. The word is arbitrary. Arbitrary. It's also... Oh. Hey. The elephant man is dead! The elephant man is dead!
To the editor of The Times. Sir, in November 1886, you were kind enough to insert in The Times a letter from me drawing attention to the case of Joseph Merrick.
John.
John Merrick. Oh, yes, of course, John. Known as the Elephant Man. It was one of singular and exceptional misfortune, etc. Debarred from earning his livelihood in any other way than being exhibited to the gaze of the curious. This, having been rightly interfered with by the police, etc., with great difficulty, he succeeded somehow or other in getting to the door of the London hospital, where, through the kindness of one of our surgeons, he was sheltered for a time. While deterred by common humanity from evicting him again into the open street, I wrote to you, and from that moment all difficulty vanished. The sympathy of many was aroused, and although no other fitting refuge was offered, a sufficient sum was placed at my disposal to maintain him for what did not promise to be a prolonged life. As he was...
The coroner said it was death by asphyxiation. The weight of his head crushed the windpipe.
Ah, yes. Well... Oh, I go on about how he spent his time here, that all attempted to alleviate his misery, that he was visited by the highest in the land, etc., that he joined our lives as best he could. And in spite of all this indulgence, he was quiet and unassuming, grateful for all that was done for him, and conformed readily to the restrictions which were necessary. Will that do so far, do you think?
Yes, I should think it would.
You wouldn't add anything else, would you?
Well, he was highly intelligent. He had an acute sensibility. And worse for him, a romantic imagination. No. No, never mind. I'm not really sure of any of it anyway.
Obedient servant F.C. Cargon, London Hospital, the 15th of April, 1890.
I did think of one small thing.
Oh, it's too late, I'm afraid. It's done.